ordinary people, extraordinary experiences. This is the Nobodees podcast with Ben Reed.
Welcome to the Nobodees podcast, where we interview ordinary people with extraordinary experiences. I'm your host, Ben, and my guest today is none other than my fancy wine friend, Paul Lichlyter. Paul, you've been mentioned in this podcast a couple of times and also in our Life of Lux podcast a couple of times. I don't think we've ever used your real name, though. You've just been the fancy wine friend.
It's probably for the best, actually. First of all, Lichlyter isn't going to be very easy for anyone to retain anyway. So the fact that Paul got attached to it is quite the honor. And your bar is very low for fancy.
Oh,
anyway, that's okay.
No. You're way too humble. Way too humble. And I mean, to live up to your namesake, you have certainly graced us with a nice bottle here.
I did try. I felt obligated to bring something decent out. So
What do we got? Tell us.
So this is a 2019 Clos de Tart. I have to make sure that I don't tell any of my actual French friends about this so they don't criticize how I'm pronouncing it. But it's a Burgundy 2019 monopole that's got to be important somehow. But it's delicious, which is the most important thing to me about wine. So hopefully we enjoy it over the course of this process. So.
To be enjoyed amongst friends. That's
And if I ever pause to take a drink, it means I'm not sure what I'm going to say, and so I'll act like I'm thinking deeply and having a drink. And
yeah, it's the perfect buffer. It's the perfect buffer. I call you the fancy wine friend, but that's a funny term of endearment. But you are much more than that to me. And we'll get into all that, but let's just I'll introduce you really quickly for our audience here.
Before you do that, if you say father figure at all at any point in this process, I will get up and leave.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. That is not in my notes.
Good.
All right. So here, this is what I came up with. So we'll see what you think.
Okay. All right.
The husband of, will be 37 years in August, father of 4 brilliant children, professionally. Your kids are, I'm so intimidated by your children. They're so smart. I don't even know.
If we had a fifth that was a first responder, I think we'd have them all covered. I think it's the only thing we don't like, either in the military or a first responder, we'd be in good shape. But
yeah. Professionally, you were a partner at Accenture. You're president and CEO of your own healthcare consulting company for 18 years. You co-founded an AI-based software company and currently serve as managing director business operations for Huron Consulting Group.
True. All true.
So my internet research was correct.
All so far, so good.
It's great. It's funny because we never really talk about that stuff. We talk about business and everything else. We don't really talk about titles or anything like that, you know.
You left my most important line item on LinkedIn out. The thing that I am most unique.
Okay.
I don't think you'll find that anywhere else on LinkedIn.
Let's hear it. What is it? What did I miss?
It's on my LinkedIn. I'm a vendangeur.
Well, what is that?
I harvested grapes in France.
Yes. I didn't realize that's what it was called.
That's what it's called.
My hillbilly brain can't deal with all these French words.
Again, I'm not telling my French friends about this. Or they're like, oh, Paul, please.
But like I said, most importantly to me, you've been an amazing mentor, a great hype man, and an even better friend to my family. So thank you for being here.
Very happy to be.
We are on the road. I think this is the first road trip I've done since I started a new podcast. Not that we've done a ton of episodes. We've only done 2, but we're on the road. So hopefully everything goes well technically.
I'm a trailblazer.
But I knew that we would have a good time over here. And I think the great thing about coming to the Lichlyters is you're normally going to have a good meal. There's going to be some blind wine tasting. There's going to be delicious food. And there's going to be, we do a lot of one-on-one kind of dinner stuff, but then you also host these amazing dinner parties where you run into a very eclectic group of people. And I mean eclectic in a really good way.
Yeah. I think so too. There was one of the dinners that you and Becky were at where at the end of the night, a gentleman, he was a cardiologist at Mayo, who, as people are getting ready to leave, he goes, "How did I get invited to this?" And one of my other friends said, "I figured this out about Paul. So some people say that's an interesting person. And Paul says, that's an interesting person. Can we be friends? So it's like, hey, try. Why not? I love being around accomplished, interesting, talented folks. So that's why you and Becky reach a different level.
Well, I do think it's interesting to me that a lot of your friends that I've had the pleasure of meeting, you've met like standing in line somewhere
Bizarre.
or having dinner at the bar by yourself. It's crazy to me. Like, I talk to the bartender, but I mean, you stay at the bartender's house when you go back to the next town.
I couch surf.
Yeah. Like,
that's true.
It's funny because I think you would describe yourself more as an introverted
absolutely.
person. But,
100%.
But that doesn't seem like the nature of an introvert there.
I have my daughter does not agree with me at all. She's very similar personality as me, but I'm very near the middle. So the worst environment for me in life is at a cocktail party where I don't know people and I just have to inject myself into a conversation that's so uncomfortable. I hate that. And actually it would be a really helpful skill in my career to be able to do that. And it's just, I don't like it. But strangers, I don't have any problem with meeting strangers. I mean, I was at a business meeting this week in Chicago, and I was just mentioning, I'm going to be headed out to California for my next trip, and I'm going to be sleeping on a bartender friend of mine's couch.
Yeah.
And everybody in the room was like, what? You're going to do what? Like, I didn't realize it was that unusual, but I am. I'm staying with a guy that I met in line and staying on a sofa of a bartender that I met out in Sacramento.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's amazing. I have so much fun doing it.
I do too. For whatever reason, I'm just not that friendly, I guess.
Maybe you don't try. I don't know. It's not for everyone. It's not like I think it's some desirable trait. I think my kids roll their eyes at it mostly, but I enjoy it. It's fun.
I was trying to think when we first met, when I first remember meeting you. And unfortunately, I think it was at a funeral.
Oh, it was
the first time I met you.
100% definitely was Tara's funeral.
Yeah. So our wives met through a Bible study at church.
Yep.
My wife was working in the restaurant, working nights at the time. So it was a group of older ladies. Well, not older ladies, but older than her ladies.
Amy would be sure and tell Amy that.
Yeah, Amy would kill me for that. But older than my wife ladies, which was great because, she met Amy. And when I met you, it was the first time that I had ever, and I'm being sincerely honest here, I'd ever met anyone that had their own business, that was successful, that was Christian, traveled a lot.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I really thought I was kind of a unicorn at the, probably on the less successful end of that conversation for me. But I don't know. It was the strangest thing. I don't know if you've had those experiences in your life or you're like, oh, hey, here's this random guy, but I felt really like, hey, we're going to be friends. And because I met someone that I didn't know existed.
Yeah. I don't want to say that I've never met people in my career that have had to navigate that same kind of dynamic, but it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It really, and more, not so much on me, it's more so difficult on Amy and the kids. There was a period of time that I didn't travel. We moved together from place to place, which is another bizarre lifestyle and has its own challenges. But when I started traveling every week for several years and we had 4 small kids, it was great for me. I'm meeting bartenders in California and going to nice dinners and taking clients out and having nice wine. And it was great. And leaving diapers and all this kind of stuff. And the moment when Amy reminded me she didn't sign up to be a single parent. So yeah, it is a challenge, but you can navigate it, but it's not without its difficulties.
Yeah. And I think I've learned from you just in our conversations, like a ton about like how to navigate that and with the family. And now that I've got a second one here,
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
It's a very exciting time.
She's beautiful.
She is. I'm glad she takes after her mother. But yeah, it's just interesting because I think people, especially in my realm, um, they're like, "You're unemployed, like you don't have a job." I'm like, well, no, that's not exactly it.
For right now.
And we'll get to that.
But I'll be busy again.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess in your mind, like navigating those kind of ebbs and flows, because I know, we talked about it. And when you have your own business or you're an entrepreneur or you're, even doing like the gig economy, it's up and down. Like it's
Yeah.
feast or famine.
Oh,
Like I don't
yeah.
know of anyone where it's, steady sailing
Yeah.
entire way. So for you, because I know you had some big highs and some big
Oh, my
lows with that. So for
Yeah.
you, how did you navigate all that?
I give a ton of credit to my dad, my upbringing around managing money, and I didn't grow up with money, and so when I progressed in my career pretty quickly, and I had more, we were pretty disciplined around setting aside money. And I think it really made a difference when we had those downtimes. We always had a cushion.
Mhm.
Now there were periods that we got into that the cushion was not nearly as fluffy as I would have liked, but it really had everything to do with managing the money along the way.
Yeah.
To make it where we didn't go bankrupt 4 times. But anyway,
Yeah. But it's a challenge, but I don't know if I would necessarily trade it.
oh no, absolutely not. It is interesting, the adrenaline rush associated with you've gone without something for a while and you have a client that gives you a big deal, and it's a lot of fun. It really, really is. And I've told people for years, the thing that I love about consulting, which I assume is in large part is similar to your industry, is people don't care about what you did for other people. They care from a credentialing perspective. Am I going to let you do this? But the fact that you did great things before doesn't matter. If you do a trashy job this time, trashy video, trashy program, it doesn't matter. You have to earn it every single time. And there's a real excitement associated with having to earn it over and over. And I love that, actually.
Yeah, like I tell people all the time if they're asking me about it, it's like I can't have a bad day.
Yeah.
Like you can't.
Yeah.
It just, like a surgeon can't have a bad day. Like I can't have a bad day because you could lose. Not only could you lose that project, but then people hear about that and it just kind of trickles.
Oh, the
on its way down.
reputation impact is
Yeah.
massive.
And it's still word of mouth. I mean,
Yeah.
that hasn't really changed a whole lot
Yeah.
over time.
Well, and when it was my own business, like you have your own business, you don't have a brand that everybody will give you a break for. Like when I was at the huge firm, you have a project doesn't go exactly the way you hoped it would, and people go, well, but they've done 43,000 other fantastic things, kind of deal. But when it's yours, and my business was my name, I didn't intend on making a business out of it. And so I should have named it Blazing Bull.
Well, yeah. Like,
but
could have made it a little easier on yourself, Paul Lichlyter
Man.
Consulting.
and nobody could spell it. But Lichlyter Consulting was not the primary recommendation I would make for consulting company names. But it lasted for 18 years, and the reason it did is we just consistently did really good work.
Yeah.
So
I mean, any business that lasts that long, you had to be doing something right. So
well, like you said, there were definitely the droughts along the way. So
yeah, and people don't understand that. I had a friend, and he started, doing a lot of business with this company, but they pay like on a net 60. And then his wife is like, "Wait, we don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks?" And I was like, "Welcome to my world."
yeah,
I've got a lot of good clients, and everybody usually pays like net 30. But then there are some places you're gonna get it when you get it, and it's hard to plan for that.
I went. Amy would probably remember even better than me, but I went at least 9 months with no paycheck while I had my business.
Yeah,
because I needed to pay payroll, and so I didn't pay myself.
Oh yeah, I get it.
It was, yeah.
I haven't done 9. Probably 3 is probably my longest one. But yeah, 9, that's a whole nother level.
I hope you never you get to that point.
Never have to do that.
Hope you never do.
Yeah.
It makes for some sleepless nights.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. We'll get into just a little bit of that later on. But the one thing I did want to talk to you about, and I don't know if I've ever actually asked you this question. I have drank more wine with you than probably any other person that I know. How did you get into it?
I thought that you were going to ask me some quiz question.
No.
I was like, oh man.
And we're getting to the point of this whole podcast, but we're just doing a lot of background, foundational storytelling right now.
It's actually not remotely glamorous. But the fact of the matter is, growing up without a lot of money, we didn't do luxury things. We didn't go on fancy trips. We didn't have wine. I didn't golf. And once we started to get a little money, for some reason, I thought I attributed drinking wine to affluence. That's what people did when you get a little money.
Yeah.
And there was a company back in the day. I can't forget it. It's called Geerlings and Wade. It was one of these, you sign up and they would send you a box of wine every month kind of thing. And they would have these ratings, and I learned about these, different people that rated wine. I figured out the people that if they said it was good, I tended to like it.
Sure.
And so we had, I wish I could. It looked like a shoe rack in our closet.
Yeah. Okay.
But we had wine sitting on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't refrigerated, wasn't temperature or humidity controlled, nothing. It was it was just sitting there like a shoe thing.
Yep.
But okay, I learned about the kinds of things that I like and don't like, and I was smart enough to know that there was enough wine that I couldn't learn all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really narrowed it down. Originally, I said, I'm only going to drink California wine and French wine.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to try to learn. And if I learn enough, I'll, try to do other things, but that's what I'm going to focus on. And I just tried to drink wine and learn what I liked and didn't like. And that was the most important thing, is do I like it or not? And learned a ton. So
yeah,
that's how it started. But
yeah, I think for me, I kind of grew up in a similar way, and it was like business dinners. I was working for NASCAR, and so once a year I'd be sent to Sonoma, and so you're at all these dinners, and everybody's ordering all this wine, and I'm just like, all right, maybe I'll give it a shot. And
absolutely,
it's good stuff. And you're like, oh, this isn't that bad.
I like this.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, that was probably part of why I attributed it to affluence. Is I'm at work dinners, and the high level executives are ordering wine for the table, and okay, this is cool. So I'll try this, and it was not. I didn't like that one, but that kind of thing.
Have I ever told you the first time I ever went to a company dinner?
I don't.
So I was an intern. I was still in college. So it was after my junior year, and I was interning with NASCAR, and they sent me to Chicago to work on a DVD back when DVDs were a thing.
Oh, wow.
And yes, very popular back in the mid 2000s. And we go to this restaurant, and it was a Weber Grill. So the company, Weber Grill, they have a restaurant. It's very good. And they cook on Weber Grills. It's charcoal.
Yeah,
it's great.
We lived in Chicago for a while. I know where that was.
That's right. There you go. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm looking at the menu. Like, everything on the menu is like $25, $30. And I look at the people around me, and I was like, could we go somewhere else? And they're like, well, you don't like steak? What? And I was like, no, I can't afford this.
It's really expensive.
It's like, I can't afford this. And they're like, Ben, the company pays for it. And I'm like, what? They what?
What? Can I take one home?
Oh, man. And so then, it was bad news from here on out. If anybody knows, there was a term at NASCAR, and I don't think I really deserved it as much as people probably thought I did. It was called Ben reading it. And that's when you would go out for a nice dinner.
Oh, yeah.
But
did you take full advantage of the opportunity?
Well, here's what happened. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't take advantage every now and then.
You had the Oscar on top of the steak.
But I would be at dinners with higher ranking people, and they would think it would be hysterical to put a guy making $25,000 a year to make me pay for a $1,500 dinner.
Oh, yeah.
They thought it was hysterical. And I'm freaking out. Like, I think I had a $10,000 limit on my credit card at the time. the like clear Amex with the blue. Everybody had them. I don't know. Everybody had
Yes, but did you get the points?
I did get the point.
See, there you
It was
go.
my personal card.
Yeah, there you
NASCAR
go.
didn't have company cards.
There you go.
So it's like 2 days before I got to pay this thing off. I don't have 10 grand in my bank account. So I have to go to like the main boss and be like, hey,
Can
could
I get an advance?
Because I got to pay my credit card. It's like, why are you paying for all these dinners? Like, they're making me talk to your people.
It's like a game.
Yeah. But anyway, so.
It's like when the rookie, at, the NFL, they make the rookie, same concept. That's what they did to you.
That's what they did to me. Thankfully, the company paid for it. I never got stuck with. I think 1,500 was probably the most.
That's excellent.
What that was Porterhouse in New York, there in Columbus Circle. That was
Very
a good one.
nice.
That was a good one.
That's where Per Se is, right there on the circle too.
Yep, and it's right there per se. And what's the Japanese place right there, the sushi spot?
I don't know the sushi spot. Jean Georges is there, not a sushi spot.
Is it Masa?
Oh,
it's like one of the most expensive
I never
restaurants
went
in the
there.
country. Yeah, it's right there. They're
I
in the
never
same
went.
building.
I know what you're talking about, but I never went.
Well, something to strive for.
There you go.
So
Goals.
and you've officially ruined me on wine, by the way.
Good. That's my goal.
So I'll tell this quick story. You are so generous with the wines that you pour and that you share with people. It's kind of your thing, but you don't have to do that, right? So, but it's very nice.
It's a joy. Yeah.
And we were here for a dinner party with some friends of yours that we've met a couple of times, and another Lichlyter blind tasting. And I just remember I took a sip of one of the wines, and I was like, I have never tasted anything like this. Like, it blew my mind, and it smelled like a barnyard. It smelled like cow manure. And I distinctly remember that smell because I used to shovel it for our, beef cows.
How
that
does
we
this
had growing
taste
up.
good?
And I'm like, I'm in this weird dichotomy of I'm having, bad flashbacks of cleaning out the cow stall and the pure joy of this liquid that is in my mouth. So it's a very odd thing for me going back and forth. But at that wine dinner, you served us a 2000 Chateau Margaux and I believe it is either 04, 05 Harlan. And I've been ruined ever since.
Sorry. I apologize. I was trying to ruin you again tonight, but anyway.
It's outstanding.
You've had a lot of good Pinots though, so.
Well, this we had the 2017 of this at my house. You were kind enough to bring that over. And that might be at the top of the list. Definitely like top 3 that I've had.
So it's a little early because I've only had literally 2 sips, but this one is actually rated higher than the 17.
Okay.
So we'll see.
All right.
It
And
has to
I'm
develop
really
over
scared
time.
of your wine glasses too, because you have these like beautiful Zalto wine glasses, and I am
Can we
an
get
elephant.
a sponsorship from Zalto? Can we get like a free set of
Listen,
Zaltos?
I would
Because we
love
said
it.
Zalto repeatedly.
Well, why don't we
Zalto?
talk to Sonia and get that company
We
to
can-
sponsor us?
You can do that too. I can say a lot of names of companies that I would like for them to decide they want to send me stuff.
Yes. But yes, to get to, I think as we get to the point of this whole conversation, I just wanted to kind of set up your kind of business acumen and your background and your love of wine, because all of that is gonna set the foundation for what we're talking about today. Because I like to have, I was telling you when I asked you to do this, is like I like to have like a theme for every podcast, and it's something to help people. And so this one is about unemployment and navigating that. And
I'm so glad to be your friend that has so much experience with unemployment. That's fantastic.
well, it's funny because we talked about it a little bit. I can say like I've never like been officially laid off from a job, thankfully, but these periods of famine, as we'll call them, with the business, certainly, I guess, could be similar in that way.
It is actually very similar.
And so I guess I just want to start off with kind of talking about some of the events that led up to it, because 2020, you had your own business, Lichlyter Consulting. You'd had some good years running into that. And like 2020 really kind of put a damper on things for you?
For a period.
Okay.
It actually got better
Okay.
later in the year. We actually had, if it makes you feel better, we had 2 worse years than that.
Okay.
In the course of 18 years, we had 3 rough years. In 15, probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 kind of break-even-y kind of years. And then the balance were really, really good. But yeah, we went through some tough times.
Yeah.
No question.
So I guess, so around this time period, you decide that you don't want to have the company anymore. You want to get out, do something different.
Yeah.
Kind of walk me through that decision.
I would have to go back in time a little bit for that, because I had the business probably at that time maybe 14 or 15 years, and had been through so many up and downs, and it had been, I mean, just bluntly emotionally difficult at points in time.
Yep.
And I really felt like I could have more of an impact if I joined a larger organization. I mean, we had some, financially, we had some really wonderful years, and I loved doing the work, but there was only so much impact you could have in a company that the largest we ever were 20 people. And we did amazing work with the group, but it was, I just felt like I could have more of an impact. And so essentially the key criteria that switched was anytime anybody called and asked me about an opportunity to take a full-time position, or if any of my clients, asked if I'd be willing, I always said no. I have people that I employ. I can't just walk out on them.
Sure.
And I essentially told all my folks that I was going to be open to opportunities, and I transitioned everybody except for my COO from a W-2 to a 1099, and we still worked for several more years. But then I had a client that approached me with a division president role, and that's when I took the role with the wound care company. At that point. So I never technically sold the company or shut it down, because my COO was still working under that umbrella for tax reasons and stuff like that. And then he ended up doing something else. So it just kind of, it still exists. If you go on to sunbiz.org, you still see Lichlyter Consulting as an active business.
Okay.
I got nothing for it. And I wasn't sure with it being my first foray into industry, because I had been at the large firm for 13 years, and then I had my own company for 18 years. So I'm 30 years into this, and I'm like, well, I'm going to try this. If this doesn't go well, I might need that to still be there. So I never technically shuttered it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I probably should.
I'll say, are you still paying the yearly dues on that?
I still am.
Yeah, well, it's not that bad.
I do the annual report. Basically.
And you also had like a, backing up a little bit, you did have another pivot. It was like you were more on the finance side originally, like the number side, and then you decided to go into healthcare. Like, what was the,
now you're going way back.
Well, you're on the partner track at Accenture on the finance, and then you pivot and go to healthcare. So.
Well, that wasn't really of my own doing originally. So I had been in banking. Amy and I, that whole moving around thing, we moved to Winston-Salem and North Carolina. We were there for 4 years, had 2 of our kids in Winston-Salem. And there was a point in time that the largest engagement in healthcare was going on in Jacksonville, Florida. And the healthcare industry didn't have a great reputation on delivering value. And so they asked me and a friend of mine to go help them out and teach them what we do in banking. And that sounds a little pretentious, but that's not all that far from true. And so we came down here with the expectation that we were going to be here for 3 to 6 months. And it just kept going and going. And eventually the banking people came to me and said, you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to come up for partner at some point. We'll bring you back to banking if you want, or you can switch to healthcare. And essentially in 99, I decided to stay and switch to healthcare. So I've been in the health industry ever since.
And in Jacksonville, which is great.
And in Jacksonville ever since. If you don't count the traveling every week.
Well,
50 out of 52 weeks.
Yeah.
For a couple of years.
That's when I met. I think that's when we started hanging out, was when you were traveling so much.
Yeah.
And I can't say it enough. Like, I just want people to know you've influenced my life and my career so much, and not as a father figure, but as a mentor, and just a real good friend. I mean, there are people. Obviously, there's a little bit of an age difference, but I feel like
What are you talking about? Like almost the same.
you do
44, 45, something like
you
that.
do have
right?
more hair than I do.
I
So
do.
You have a
Yeah.
lot more hair than I do. But I really appreciate you. And usually you say this for the end, but I'm gonna put it in the middle. I appreciate you, and I'm so thankful that you're in my life. I really am.
Well, I know you know, but for the sake of putting it on tape, it's mutual and it doesn't have anything to do with the age difference. So,
All right. So enough of the fuzzy stuff. So you take this job at a wound care clinic or a wound care company,
Mhm.
and you're there how long?
Just under 2 years.
Yep. And then I guess obviously we kind of know what happened. Was the writing on the wall for you somewhat, or were you
No.
kind of
No.
talk through
and
that situation?
if the idea is to talk, I don't want to mess up your flow, but if the idea is to talk about unemployment, I was effectively unemployed when I left the big firm and made a decision to start my own company about a year after that. So I was unemployed for a year. And then I didn't mean to start a company. I accidentally started a company, and that just kept going and going. And then when I took the job with the wound care company, I I had no idea that was so. I went through the process again and was unemployed again for another year, basically. So I just maybe I just got good at it. But
I mean, I think not that anyone ever gets used to being unemployed, but there is a skill to it. There's a skill to having that amount of free time.
you are so right. And for me, it wasn't so much a skill as it was the ability to grow as a person around the things that were difficult for me. And I'll give you an example. When I left Accenture, I that was not voluntary. They asked me to take a job I didn't want. And the only alternative I was given was you take the exit package or you take the new job.
Yeah.
And so I took the exit package. And I don't have any regrets, and I respected the organization and all. But it was emotionally, it was not a happy thing. I didn't leave because I wanted to leave. Now, the contrast was my family was thrilled. They absolutely were thrilled. My 13-year-old son had to write an essay of the best day of his life, and it was the day that I told the family that I was leaving my job.
Why
And
was
I'm like,
that?
That was because Dad was going to be at home.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I don't know I was going to say it's either Dad's going to be home or Dad's not going to be in a bad mood anymore.
Oh, actually, you'd have to ask him that. But I've always thought it was Dad's going to be home. It was Dad's going to be home. I organized a family meeting because I was afraid they were going to be concerned that we didn't have any income. Dad doesn't have a job. Mom was stay at home, and how are we going to survive, kind of thing. So I got all the kids together in the room. We had 4 kids, and sat them down. I was like, I want to tell you, it's okay. Dad decided to leave his job today, and it's fine. We're going to be fine, and all this kind of stuff. And nobody really reacted all that much. And my oldest son goes, "Wait, you're leaving your job?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Does that mean you're not going to be traveling? You're not going to be leaving on Monday?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he literally jumped up and it's like, "Yeah, yeah." He's jumping around like, well, that's not the reaction that I expected. Which is
kids don't care about that stuff though. They don't think about like mortgage payments and all that stuff. They're just like, hey, Dad's gonna be around more.
But and you can imagine what that does to you though around you weren't there. And he's very excited that you are going to be there, which really the double-edged sword there is you feel bad that he missed out, but you're so blessed that he wants you to be there.
Yeah.
Because I had so many conversations with colleagues that they were distant from their kids. And I wish I had the formula for why it was different with my kids. But I'm very blessed that I have a good relationship with all of my kids. So like I said, I wish I knew why. But that was a little humbling
Yeah.
in that
Why do
regard.
you think, with traveling that much, why do you think you still had a good relationship with the kids?
I you probably can guess. I've wondered about that for a very long time. It would be interesting to me to ask the kids that. But they were fairly young. Again, the oldest was 13. So 13, 11, 8 and 6, that kind of thing. And I don't know how much they even remember about it, but I would like to think that it was because while I was around, that I was making it very clear how important they were
Yeah.
and how much I appreciated them. And when I was traveling, that I would reach out to them, and they knew that I cared about them. And
Mhm.
the idea wasn't that I'm trying to escape and be away from them.
Yep.
They were more important, but I have to speculate, right? I actually don't know.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because we've had this conversation, and you were like, just you be present when you're here. That's the big thing for me, is like when I'm here, fully present and need to be.
Yeah.
And I would surmise, this is just my opinion, that I'm giving my kids, even though I'm traveling, when I'm here, I'm fully focused on them. I'm giving them pretty much the same amount of time as a lot of other parents that are around more, but they're just more distracted by different things going on. And that's not a judgment. That's just a,
right.
you know,
I'll be just brutally honest. When I was traveling, there were many weeks that I would come home and I was just exhausted from traveling, and I wanted to veg.
yeah.
And I wish I could say that what you said was true. That I was just so present and so
Well,
active.
everybody
with them,
has
and
a bad
they
day.
knew they were. But I really think it's a grace situation, and a lot of it had to do with the decision that my kids made about their relationship with me. They could have decided that just wasn't acceptable, and they could have abandoned the relationship. And like I said, I'm just very fortunate that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And after, when I was unemployed, I spent tons of time
Yeah.
with them. If you ever get the chance to take a sabbatical in the middle of your career, I highly recommend it. Being able to spend that amount of time with them when they were young, and playing games and traveling and golfing, and it was a very, very special time.
Well, and I would also say, like, Amy, your wife, plays a big role in that too, because
No question.
she's laying the, she's not letting little things fester or anything like that. She's, being positive to you, to the kids, and everything else, which
no
isn't
question.
necessary. I work with people that travel all the time, and that is definitely not the norm.
When I was gone, if she was communicating bitterness about me while I was gone, there's no way I would have had that same kind of relationship. But yeah, she was pretty amazing in that process.
You use the term sabbatical, and I think that's a great term for it.
It's how you reinvent it.
Well, it's
but you weren't
the way
laid
you
off.
think about
it was a sabbatical.
Well, listen, you have to tell yourself, it's like an athlete or anything else. Like you got to tell yourself, that, what you need to do to make things happen. So, you're surprised at the wound care.
You want me to go back to another midpoint though?
Oh, please.
So, you had no idea all the difficulty that so when I had my own company, things were amazing for the first 7 years. Financially, it was great. People were great. The business was all word of mouth. Didn't have to do any marketing. It was fantastic. In 2011, for reasons I won't bore you with, it basically all went away unexpectedly. And I have these very expensive people that I hired that trusted me, that left very good careers to work with me, that I was letting down.
Mhm.
And we didn't have a huge stock portfolio or anything, but I literally had to sell off everything um, to be able to pay payroll. Other than I kept one stock that sat out there, um, but it was ugly for a period of time, and it wasn't even the finances that was the ugly part. It was the letting people down
Yeah.
part.
Yep.
I'm not good enough to do this. Um, they're going to hate me. I just, and their spouses. I was, friends with spouses of people. And I just actually met with a friend of mine. They moved from Tampa to Jacksonville because of this job. And we watched some of the Super Bowl together. And he was reminding the people around, oh, yeah, the reason I'm in Jacksonville is because we moved here with him. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that period of time when couldn't keep your wife occupied.
Well, yeah. I think a lot of people, not that I'm putting this on you, but a lot of people have a negative connotation when it comes to the boss or the owner or whatever. And I think what most employees don't understand is, yeah, like we're thinking about the business, but it's always in terms of the people and the responsibility you feel towards the people that have entrusted you with their livelihood.
Yeah.
And that's a big
Oh
responsibility.
yeah. It's and I know that there are people that don't share, your values about the importance of the people that are out there. But that I will tell you that was way more difficult emotionally than leaving the big firm. I mean,
Mhm.
like night and day. That was where I lost sleep. I didn't lose sleep. I was bitter when I left the big company um, for a while. For several months, I was bitter. It took a long time for me to deal with that.
Yeah.
But there was depression, literal. That whole. I didn't understand it at the time, but not want to get out of bed,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And I didn't know the name to put on it, but just the hopelessness of there's nothing in the pipeline. I don't know what I'm going to do, and it's just write another check, next month and hope. And it was brutal.
So how did you overcome that?
I
How did you
didn't.
get out of it?
Honestly, I didn't. And this is where that maybe learning to be unemployed thing comes in a little bit. We got work. I had a friend that I had maintained a relationship with that was a CEO of a company, and I had reached out, and he had a project, and we got going again, and it built back, and it took 9 months of zero for me before we got there.
Mm.
But it wasn't because I learned how to deal with it constructively and, like I say, grew as a person then. And now I figured out how to handle this. No, it was just there was some work, and I didn't develop at all during that period of time. And then there was another window, actually before COVID. There was another period of time that wasn't as long, and I never made it quite into the depths that I did that first time. But again, largely just because of the duration, and I'm not proud of it. It's just a fact. And I don't think I really started to learn from those experiences until I did leave the wound care company.
Yeah.
Which is where you were trying to get probably, and jump over all the ugliness of my dealing with those situations. But I've been a Christian the entire time. I don't remember I don't remember when I became a Christian. And so all of these things, what's weird to me at times is all the difficulties, all the challenges, all the struggles I have in life are all after being a Christian. And I have this, impression that I deal with at times, like I'm supposed to be a different person now, and everything's supposed to be easy, and all these people that have these amazing transformations, and I don't even remember when 'cause, my dad was a pastor, and I grew up in church, and this, and so there was absolutely a period of time after I left the wound care because that was a genuine, like, legit layoff, and it was a shock.
Yeah.
And I thought, honestly,
I remember.
I thought I was doing really good work, and it was pathetic. Oh my goodness. When I when I had to announce to my team, for some reason, I have this attribute that if I'm going to do something, any client work, any job, I care deeply. And I cared about them as people, and I cared about the business. And when I was asked, they were going to eliminate my position, I, it just, it was brutal. I mean, like, again, I'm just being honest. When I was telling my people, I'm crying, telling them I'm
Yeah.
leaving, it was terrible. But that period of time was really the first of these experiences that I actually finally, dealt with what that was like, and the realization that so much of it was tied up in my pride, and the how much I tied my value as a human being to my fancy career. Um, and it it was it was a hard thing to accept
Yeah.
through that process. It was
Well,
not pleasant.
it is challenging. I mean, you didn't have your business at the time, but when people are like, "Oh, you got to separate work and your personal life," when it's yours, you can't.
There's
There's no way.
no.
You wake up thinking about it, you think about it all day, and you go to bed thinking about it, and then you dream about it at night.
Yeah, no.
Like, there is no work-life balance. There is
No.
no easy way to do it. Um, but I will say, like, having been around you during that time period, um, you were genuinely like happy at the wound care
I
company. You
was
you were loving it.
thrilled.
You're doing a great job.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. They do great work. The nurses and the doctors that work in that setting. I didn't even know what wound care was when I got there, and just observing the impact that they had on people's lives, I was excited that I could be a little bit of that. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't get to do any of the patient care. I was just kind of a mole on the side
Yeah,
of
you're an observer.
a beautiful beast.
Yeah.
But it was fun. And like I said, I thought it mattered. And that's what I wanted to do at this, stage in my life, with all the things that I've been through and the skills that I thought I had. And I was a division president, for goodness sake, man, that's important. And so, yeah, it was a tough transition.
I think one time you told me that you felt like your spiritual gift was like earning money for the kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% good memory.
Explain that concept to me, and then we're going to talk about it in light of what happened.
Well, apparently I'm not very good at it.
No,
at times.
you were very good at it. Don't be modest.
The growing up with a dad as a pastor, and caring a lot about my faith, there was a bit of I'm not following the mission that I should have in life by going and taking a job. And I genuinely felt like I came to the realization that my contribution was supposed to be in bringing money into the kingdom and serving people and being generous, and that's what I could do well, and that was supposed to be my ministry.
Mhm.
And I wasn't supposed to do a lot of other wonderful things. I was supposed to do that. And when you do that, when you believe that about what your calling is, your mission in life is, and you don't have a job, that added to this whole I'm a failure.
Yep.
And you have all the personal pride associated with your position. And then you have, well, even the part that you thought was you were carving off, is you're not even doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel like that got turned on its head with the experience you had, this last go around? Like, how did that concept, I guess, how did you evolve that concept and then begin the process of thinking about that differently?
Yeah. It was absolutely an encounter with certain very important scriptures in my life, and in scriptures that I had heard forever and ever. And I don't know why this time it was different. Maybe people talk about surrendering. Maybe that was my surrendering moment. In spite of being a Christian, maybe I gave up a little bit, but it really was a progression through multiple things. But it was, and I hope I don't get this reference wrong, but I think it's Philippians 4:6. Um, but the be anxious for nothing. Um, and I initially in that experience, I had the be anxious for nothing part, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be anxious. I do trust God, and I don't know what the plans are, but I'm not gonna be anxious. And after a few weeks of that, I'm like, all right, I'm being lazy. And I'm going through this. Okay, well, that's not, I don't want to, I don't want to have to be lazy in order to be peaceful. And so the notion
That's a hard one to navigate, though.
it is.
It's I've always found that to be, because like, oh, trust God and
Oh yeah.
He'll provide. It's like, well, there's always an action piece to that, and I think people miss that.
Yeah, it's a so I have what may be a bit of a different slant on things. You know, the whole God helps those that help themselves thing. Sometimes God just supernaturally does something.
Yeah,
I believe that, and
which I don't think that's in the Bible, but anyway,
which one?
that God helps.
Oh
people
no,
out.
yeah, I don't either.
I'm pretty sure that's not
I
in
don't.
Scripture.
No, I don't think it is. But people use it like
They
it
act
is.
like it.
Oh yeah, a lot. But there isn't a whole lot of good things said about being lazy in the Bible.
That's true.
But I do think he, occasionally just decides to do something. Again, I don't understand that either. But the next step in the progression was, okay, I need to do things, but still be at peace if they don't turn out the way that I would like them to turn out. So if I reach out and apply for a job and they say no, I'm okay with that. And like, are you really okay with it? Are you genuinely okay with it?
Yeah.
And I continued through that scripture, piece by piece around be anxious for nothing, but in all things through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. And so I just like, thank you. And I had joined a discipleship group that during that period of time, and people would do praise reports about, I got a promotion, or we won this new deal, or somebody got healed of something or whatever. And I forced myself when we would do stuff like that. And I said, I thank God that I'm unemployed. And I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah, I remember the first time you said that to me, and I was like, okay, come on, Paul.
It's kind of one of those things. I had to do it as a force of will.
Yeah.
Probably. And then I think eventually I did start to actually believe it. And I am glad. And I don't know what God is doing. I know God was dealing with my pride, but I don't know what else he was doing besides that. But I eventually ended up on the peace that passes all understanding will guard your hearts and mind in Christ Jesus. And the realization, again, I'd known that scripture forever, but the peace that passes all understanding is a fancy kind of wording. But at the end of the day, I boiled it down to peace that makes no sense. And if you have a good job, you have a good salary, your boss treats you well, you have a great wife, kids love you, and you're at peace, well, that makes all the sense in the world. You don't need the peace that makes no sense. You have peace that anybody would look at and says makes a lot of sense. But when those things aren't there, do you still have peace?
Mm-hmm.
And that script, that actually, this was probably later on in the process. It says, make your requests known. It doesn't say he's going to do those things.
Yeah.
It says, make your requests known. And that was probably maybe the last step in the realization, was me coming to the conclusion, God cares to know about my requests. Even if he's not going to make it all comfortable, he cares. And I can rest on that.
Yeah. And I mean, just to be clear, like, you had plenty to be anxious about during that time period.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys had started a major renovation on the house.
Oh yeah,
and
we
it's like,
so that was the and I had to talk myself back into that repeatedly, because we had put ourselves in a lifestyle that suddenly going without an income, I didn't have. When I talked about that cushion, I didn't have the cushion that I had at points in time in the past. And that was probably the first time. Well, after the Depression, that was the first time I thought there's a legitimate chance we could go bankrupt. And Amy and I had conversations. All right, are we okay? Are we at peace if we go bankrupt? And that was literally that was the conversation. Is okay, we have to be peaceful even if we go bankrupt. And that wasn't the desired outcome
No.
of the process. But
Well, I always kind of jokingly would say, well, I'm not really going to believe it until you start selling the wine. and at one point, I think you asked me like, hey, do you want to buy a couple of bottles of this? And I was like, okay.
Uh-oh.
Like, all right, there's,
that was the last cushion. I wasn't willing to do that. We sold that one stock that I had kept, that I had set aside.
Yeah.
That we started selling that to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate. We had a line of credit that I honestly don't remember why I thought it was a good idea to get it. But we literally got it right before I lost my job, and we maxed out the line of credit, and then we couldn't put any more on it. So I'm selling stock to, pay it down, and he goes back up and you sell stock and pay it down. And
yeah,
it was like, ooh, this is not what I intended.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like, it never lasts as long as you think it will,
Yeah. It was definitely stressful.
So
Theoretic in situation. And again, those moments where when you can remind yourself in that moment, this is not a surprise. God knows what's going on. If I go bankrupt, the world will turn. He's got a plan. I don't know it, but you know what? There are a lot of people in the world that would have been happy, thrilled to go through what we went through. We have no reason to feel sorry for ourselves or to be concerned about something that millions of people would have been happy to deal with. And that kind of thing embarrasses me a bit, that I dealt with as much anxiety as I did. I shouldn't have, and all, but anyway, it was definitely a learning period of time for me.
So what was the difference? You talked about the first time it happened after Accenture, you were, depressed, couldn't get out of bed. It didn't seem like that was the case this go around. Well, is this that scripture, or had you matured as a person, or?
Probably not. There was a separate situation going on in my relationship with God, that when I would deal with things in my life that I didn't like about me, I made a habit of hiding from God. And
when you say hiding, what do you mean?
I wouldn't pray. I wouldn't read. I would find reasons not to go to church. I didn't think I deserved to be there. And it was hiding. It was, I didn't deserve, it was, very prodigal sonish, and there was a separate moment having nothing to do with unemployment in my life, where there are a couple of moments where it was like nearly audible kinds of words from the Lord, but there was a moment of those are the times you should be running to me, not from.
Mm-hmm.
And that made a huge difference. And so when I went through that the unemployment experience, I was more prepared to lean on my faith than I had been in the past.
Yeah.
So, and it was, I draw so much comfort from the story about the guy telling Jesus, I believe, forgive my unbelief. Because those things would be together at the very same time, in the midst of so many situations. And it was including the anxiety. I do trust you. I don't know what I'm going to do. I do trust you, like it in the exact same moment.
I think there's a beauty in that, though. There's a beauty in, especially I struggle with pride too. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people did.
I think as talented people, we deal with pride.
I think part of it is, though, like there's a reason you have your own company. There's a reason you're successful at stuff.
Seriously.
Like, and you have to have a lot of self-belief, but there's a fine line between self-belief and arrogance. But I think for, knowing you and, me, there is a beauty in just admitting, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because we always know what to do.
Yeah. I did not know what to do. And it's been an interesting progression going from being unemployed to having a job and realizing in that experience how God is still working on my pride. That he worked on certain parts of it when I was unemployed, and then continuing to work on it after I have a job.
Sure.
And that exact same dynamic, I thank God that I was unemployed, and I thank God I have a job that's making me deal with, these kinds of things. Because I want to be transformed. I don't want to be the same person tomorrow that I was today.
Yeah.
So.
I want to go back to, you mentioned this Bible study that you were in, and like, I really feel as your friend and someone who knows you, like, I noticed a transformation. Well, you kind of got involved with this Bible study, and how did, obviously we've talked about the whole God thing, but like more of a practical, application of, you're in this Bible study with a lot of great business leaders in Jacksonville and a lot of businessmen in Jacksonville, and you're unemployed. Like that certainly, isn't what you would,
It helps.
you would think. But so tell me about how, like, from a practical standpoint, that helped, because I think that was kind of the foundation for kind of where we're going to go.
Yeah,
next.
It absolutely was a part of the equation that I was around people that I should be embarrassed that I don't have a job, that I couldn't get one. I've been looking and people have said no. I searched a ton during that period of time, doing things that I thought I wanted to do. And I mean, honestly, I had done so many things. You read my LinkedIn. I've done so many wonderful things. The world's going to beat the door down trying to get me, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And all of those things just, added to, are you going to deal with your pride? Really deal with your pride or not? And it's not like I have come to the point that I think I'm an idiot. I don't think I'm an idiot, but I also realize that is a problem area that I would rather, there's a scripture that says God opposes the proud.
Yeah.
I don't want God to oppose me. I would rather be in situations where people don't respect me and people look down on me than have God oppose me. And so it was good. It was everything, or is everything I need, because it's not a finished work by any stretch of the imagination. But anyway, so yeah, it was definitely what I needed at that moment.
So at what point in the process did you, I guess, mentally turn a corner? It's like, okay, this is a sabbatical. I'm going to improve certain areas of my life and really focus on that.
It actually was very, very soon after being told, because again, I was in a different place than I had been in the past going through it. And that progression that I described of working through that scripture started really quick. I mean, it was a progressive understanding. But the process started pretty quickly. And it continued as I pursued a job and didn't get it, and pursued a job and didn't get it, and was told, you're going to have this job. And it was a great job. I was going to be in charge of a worldwide global practice, doing, really exciting stuff. And then that fell apart.
Yeah.
And
the job search is just brutal.
And
you talk to anybody, even good people, it is brutal. It's set up to just be difficult.
I'm pretty sure it's not me. It's just how old I am. See, it's not me. I'm amazing. but I'm just old, and people don't want an old person. That's what I jest, but literally that there were periods of time I told myself that was, oh, they just don't want somebody my age. And it was easy to blame it on lots of things. Again, this was not a smooth path. Don't get the idea that I'm like, ooh, I was on an upward track. Everything was great. I learned and grew. It's been a bumpy ride. But anyway, but it did start pretty quickly. And then I had tried for a while, and there was a period, just calendar period, where Lydia, our daughter, was going to be getting married, and I had decided to go to France for a month, and I literally just stopped looking for a job. And it wasn't because I was dejected kind of thing. It was just, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to take this period. And that was literally sabbatical, kind of period of time. Because after I left the wound care company, I had co-founded this AI software company that really, I was quite active. I was laid off in August, and I was very active on the software company that I had started while I was at the wound care company, probably through like December. And so as of then Lydia's wedding was coming up in May, and I was going to be going, I decided to go to France. And so, like I said, there was just a window of time, it probably started like March, April, and I just didn't even look for a while. And that was wonderful. It was a great period of time, being able to focus on family and new experiences and stuff like that. It was again a special period in my life to do that. So
let's talk about France. I think you tell me one day, I'm going to go work wine harvest in France. And I was like, tell me more.
What?
It's like, I think my first question was like, have you ever picked grapes before? You might want to start a workout regimen.
Oh, yeah, you probably are the one. And I did. I worked out a lot. I did not work out enough. But Amy would tell you I was incredibly diligent. I was working out for a good 4 months, like 6 days a week beforehand. And it was not enough. I have so much respect for people that work in the agricultural industry. Good grief. It was grueling. But I loved it. It was great. Yeah.
What was the impetus for doing that?
Such a bizarre situation. I think I do have a built-in adventure gene of some variety, but we want to talk about COVID. There's a good friend of mine, another random stranger introduction. He was the sommelier at a 2-star Michelin restaurant in New York, became the sommelier at a 3-star, very talented, very accomplished. And I decided we needed to be friends.
Of course you did.
And I would go to the bar of the restaurant that he was at, and I would just sit there and blind taste wines, and he would come over and coach me and stuff like that. And we had come up with this great idea to do a fundraiser, and had gotten some really high-end people to be involved. And we were in the process of getting it scheduled, and COVID happened and blew the whole thing up. And he lost his job from the restaurant. And during that period of time, he said, I'm going to go. He wasn't a French guy, born in America. He was a French guy. And he was going home to work the harvest since he lost his job. And I said, that's really cool. I would love to do that someday. And I think you and I talked about maybe doing something with him and I working the harvest at one point.
Yeah, it was a documentary kind of thing, like fish out of water.
Yeah, well, very much fish out of water.
But yeah, it would have been great, but he ended up not being involved.
He didn't go. But that was where the concept of doing it. I didn't try to do it with him, but that's where the concept came from. And then when I got laid off in August, well, harvest is September.
Yeah.
And it quickly occurred to me, maybe I could go do that. And so I reached out to him, and he just knows a ton of people in the industry over there, and he tried to line it up, and I tried to get everything taken care of, and it just didn't work. It was not for a lack of effort.
Yeah.
But
They're on a different timetable over there.
it was sad, but it didn't work. And
Yeah.
so I kind of thought that was just one of those things that was gonna, one of those moments in life that pass you by,
Mhm.
kind of thing. And when it came back around and I still don't have a job, I didn't imagine I still wouldn't have a job a year later.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, maybe it is an option. And so essentially it was like, well, if I don't have if I don't have a job in September the next year, then I'll try to go do that. And like I said, when I stopped looking for a job, reached out to Philippe, and he arranged with multiple people that he knew over there. Essentially, I was following where the harvest was, because it moves based on the time of year and climates and all this kind of stuff. And so he arranged for me at 3 different places to go, and I worked out just a ton trying to get ready, and spent a month and just went from place to place. And
Well, and you, as much as you worked out physically, you worked out learning the language.
I was just
Because it's not like there's translators.
Oh my! No, actually, there are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there are. The thing that I learned most was mon français est très mauvais. It's very bad.
Oh, which is okay.
My French is very bad.
Oh, I see.
I learned how to say that quickly and a lot because my French is very bad. That just happened in the Admirals Club. A guy made some comment, and I go, "Oh, French Canadian," and he starts speaking to me in French. I went, "Ooh, mon français est très mauvais." So, but anyway, but I did. Yeah, I did. I spent a ton of time, trying to learn it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those. It's exactly what you've always been told. Immersion helps, and I would have loved to be able to be there another, 3 or 4 months, because in week 3 and week 4, it absolutely started to get easier. But for someone that had studied French, actually for a long time, the ability to be in a conversation where we would be at a table and there's 12 people there, and there's 4 conversations, 5. I didn't understand anything.
Yeah.
And fortunately, they were regularly kind enough. If they were going to say something to me, they would say, "Paul," and then even if they spoke French, they would speak it, directly to me, and I would get a lot of it. But the last place that I was, and there was frequently somebody that spoke English. And so like the owner of the last place that I was, he didn't speak any English. But his cousin, she did. And by the end of the time that I was there probably 10 days. And by the end of the 10 days, she was only letting him speak English to me, and me only speaking French to him.
Oh, gotcha.
So we had to swap back and forth, and it absolutely helped. But there were so many just kind of silly examples of people saying things to me that I should have gotten, simple stuff. And I'm like, oh, what? But yeah, so don't think too highly of my French skills.
Well, no, I have a lot of respect that you even did it, because I think, Joe Rogan talks about this sometimes. It's, especially in America, like, we're very comfortable, but like as humans, you have to do things that are uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable in order to grow. And I think for me, just as an outside person and someone that knows you, like, this whole period was of growth. I mean, you said it kind of jokingly at the beginning, but the amount of growth, especially, with having some years and experience, like, most people shy away from that. So what was it about? Was it just your love of wine, just the novelty of it? What was about that you said? Because you could have done a lot of stuff.
I could have. A lot of things that didn't cost a lot of money.
Well, yeah.
I could have done a lot of things that were cheap. That was actually part of the deal is they were going to put me up. So I had, free room and board and a lot of wine. I drank a lot of wine. It was absolutely a combination of things. While I had learned to appreciate wine when Amy and I went on our 25th wedding anniversary trip to France and did the significant tour and just really understood more about the French culture, we were both just very enamored with how social it was and how it brought people together, and it was unique and it was a challenge. It was kind of a game, and which is why we started doing the dinners that you talked about on a periodic basis, and the nuance associated with it, and the things you could learn, and the thing that was going on in your life in 2019, and how you attach to those kinds of things. Just it was a very romantic endeavor, kind of thing. And there was absolutely no question an aspect of my motivation that was, I don't know anybody that's done this. And I want to do something different.
Yeah.
It's why I wear 2 different tennis shoes. I like doing different things. So that absolutely was an aspect of it. And I knew it would be a challenge, and I like putting myself in uncomfortable situations. I enjoy that. But anyway, so that was the motivation. And from a wine perspective, you asked about love of wine. Part of it was literally the only step in the wine process that I didn't think I really had experienced because I'd been around like every other part of the process, not the picking, not the pressing. And no, for the record, I didn't step on any grapes, and nobody does.
They don't do that anymore.
But anyway, it was so cool to be able to pick a grape, eat the grape, and then at lunch have a different vintage, of course, but have that wine made out of that grape, go back when they dump all the grapes in and they press and hold a glass under the press and have the juice that is going to turn into that wine. I mean, just like that all of it was just really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I learned a ton. I worked my tail off, but I learned a ton.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I'm going back this September, not for a whole month, but I'm going back.
Okay.
Assuming Philippe can arrange. I already have the place I'm going to go, but anyway.
So it's real quickly, because kind of want to be respectful of time here. Just run me through just a overview of what a day working harvest looks like.
It was very different in the 3 different places. So I started in Burgundy, and I was by far the oldest person. That means nobody was even close. And it was mostly young college students. And so I was like a mascot of sorts. But without putting myself in too much of an issue with immigration, when I got there, I wasn't sure I was going to get to work. And I'll leave some of the details around that out. But you would get there in Burgundy, you would get there before sunrise and pile into a van, and you go out, and the foreman handed me a bucket. I didn't know the word for bucket in French. And I didn't know the word for clippers in French, but he said them and handed them to me and pointed like, okay,
there you go.
I'm going to work now.
Start cutting.
Start cutting.
Yeah.
And you would work until about 9 in the morning, and you take a break, and you'd have croissant and wine for breakfast.
Awesome.
And you'd work for another couple of hours. Oh yeah, in the vineyard.
Yeah,
you just kind of sit down, and one of the things I was really struck with is they never drank a lot of wine. People weren't drunk, but they would drink little bits periodically, like constantly, or weeded. I understand in France their wine consumption's going down as well. But all I can vouch for is what we did. And you'd sit down and you'd have that, and you'd go back to work until lunch, and you typically go back, not always, but you typically go back to the winery, and they'd have a table set up, and you'd sit around, have more wine, and you'd go back out, and you were essentially working from, I don't know, 7:30 to 5:30 or something like that. But I tried to do some math at one point, and my best guess was I was doing between 2,500 and 3,000 squats a day.
That's a lot.
Because you basically had two choices. You could either bend over far enough, because the grapes are like where we were in Burgundy, they're only like this far off the ground.
Yeah.
And so you can bend all the way over, at the waist and do it, or you can kneel down. But if you kneel down, then you have to get back up and go to the next one and kneel down again and get back up and go to the next one. So it's just a constant kind of process. And my knees and my lower back were just destroyed by the end of the month. I mean, I looked like the crotchety old man that can't stand up straight, and it was brutal. But
so just for our wine aficionados, where did you work and what areas?
Oh yeah, so Burgundy, and I didn't. So I went from Burgundy to Alsace. I went from being by far the oldest to not even close to being the oldest. There was a 74-year-old woman in Alsace that just put me to shame. All that with my knees and back that I was complaining about, this 74-year-old woman just, she was a machine. And everybody else, most of them were older than I was on the younger side of that group. But so I went from Alsace to the Loire Valley. And again, I was the oldest again, like even further there in Loire Valley. But I did if you've ever seen pictures, I did the whole wear the big backpack with the bucket on your thing. And, that actually was a relief to me to not have to bend over. I only had to carry 150 pounds, about 200 yards, and I would jog because they need to fill it up. I would jog, climb up a ladder, dump it out, and then run back. And that was better than bending over.
It's pretty bad when that's a break.
That was a break. It was a huge break. I was like, please let me carry the bucket. But anyway, so those were the three places that I went. And I'm looking at going back to the Loire Valley, assuming everything else kind of plays out. But
all right. So here's practical application time. I know we've talked a lot about your experience, but if you're gonna tell someone as we're kind of wrapping up, if you were to talk to someone that, let's say they're getting laid off tomorrow, what would be a couple pearls of wisdom that you have gleaned over your experience that could help someone start the journey off a little bit better than kind of where you were?
Well, just honestly, I would have different advice for someone who tries to ground their life in faith than somebody who doesn't. I'll be honest. The first thing I would say, and it was interesting listening to you and Becky talk. I would grieve. It's okay. Particularly if it's not it's not something you expected. It hurts. It was a difficult thing to go through, and I needed to deal with the fact that was difficult, and the emotions were raw. Not nearly the same kind. I'm not trying to put it in the same space. Don't get me wrong, but it's okay for there to be emotion associated with it. But it can seem a bit trite, but I would talk myself into to do it again. I would talk myself into there is something better on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm a person of faith, I would be focused on what do I need to learn through this process? How do I accept this moment? There's a scripture about accepting discipline. And I don't mean that being laid off is necessarily discipline, but the notion of accept the circumstance that you're in and be excited about it. One of the other things that really was a comfort to me was the way Paul would react being thrown in prison, and the idea of rejoicing in prison. And so it's like
that's a tough one to mimic.
Isn't it though? Yeah. And the current, I kid you not, the current main focus of my life is Philippians 1:20 right now, and wanting to get to the point where I can say that. But
the ability to go from the grief to I am excited that I'm here. I don't know what's next, but I'm excited for what this is going to do in my life. And like I said, even if you're not a person of faith, there is something else that's going to happen in life, and being prepared um, to accept that and move on will help immensely about getting ready.
Yeah.
And don't tie too much of your personal satisfaction to those individual bits of feedback that you get.
Yeah.
Those individual, no, thank you, we're going to go a different direction. I got tired of hearing we're going to go a different direction.
Yeah.
Great.
The coaching principle for that is called embrace the no.
Oh, okay. Well, there you
Yeah.
go. So embrace the no. Be
Yeah.
excited, but this is not the right place. There's something else. Because I do think it's important that you realize I don't want to be somewhere that doesn't want me. And so it's great if I wasn't the right fit. It's a good thing that I'm
Yeah.
not there.
That takes a lot of wisdom. It's something that part I have struggled with, is like, why, when you're trying to drum up business or whatever, it's like, why is this person getting back to me? Like, I'm offended now. And it's like, why would you want to work for them? Why would you want to work with it?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, oh, okay. If it's going to be difficult for me to do something, move on, because you're wasting more time trying
so
to win
easy
their
say
approval.
that. It's
Well,
easy to.
yes, it's a lot easier to say that.
I am, to this day, I do not understand why people have such a hard time of saying no, though. I would rather they say no than just you don't hear from them and you reach back out. Oh, well, and then you're like,
The ghosting,
just say no.
The ghosting is so
I can't.
infuriating.
That drives me actually.
Which is why anytime
crazy.
anyone sends me an email, I hate it so much. Like, I always respond.
Yeah.
Even if it's no, I always
Even
respond.
those random spam messages you respond
No,
to.
not those. But, I had a guy reach out to me, like camera guy, just moved to Jacksonville from Jamaica. And it's like, thanks for reaching out.
Not looking for
I'm
anybody
sorry,
right now.
I don't have anything for you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at least like,
No,
no.
I respect that. I
Yeah.
respect that a ton. Being on the other side of that a lot, I respect that a
Yeah.
ton.
Yeah.
But-
What did you learn about yourself through this whole process?
Learning through the whole process, for me, the ability to rely on my faith, and is it really real when it's rough? Because it didn't feel real when I was dealing with depression.
Yeah.
That wasn't the focus of my life. And either this is real or it's not real. And either you're going to actually believe it or you're not going to believe it, which is where I go back to Philippians 1:20. Like the notion that Paul could say, I would rather die, but because I have a job, that God has a job for me to do while I'm here, I will be here.
Yeah.
I'm okay doing it because I'm having an impact, that's, like I said, I'm not there yet, but that literally is my focus as a person right now. Is if I'm really serious about this, if I really, really, really believe it, is that where I am? And so I have told a lot of people, anybody that happens to listen to this, if I'm diagnosed with something, terminal, is the first thing you hear me say, I'm grateful. I'm, glad that I'm dealing with whatever this thing is. And remind me, if I don't, are you glad? Are you just living for here? Or is there more? Are you serious about it?
Yeah.
And that's where I want to be.
Yeah. I can say that with that, the deepness and the richness of your faith, I've seen a difference.
And the fragility of it.
Well,
times.
no, that's not a bad thing. I think that's what makes it stronger.
Yeah.
Is, obviously, Becky and I went through something, and when there's almost a freedom in that's all you got.
Mm-hmm.
And when you lose the things that you thought were holding you up,
Then what's left? Yeah.
And then you really figure out what you got.
Yeah.
And I certainly feel you on that one.
Yeah, I know you do.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast and sharing your experience. I know it's not easy to talk about
I kept it
certain.
decent.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Only I'm the only one allowed to cry on this this podcast. No.
That was close though. That was really close.
But thank you for being part of it. I hope the goal here, like I said before, is that it's not about me. It's not about our guest. It's just about helping other people.
Yeah.
And it's trying to bring light to certain things that people just don't talk about. And I think unemployment is one of those. It can be isolating. It can be challenging. You can feel depressed and worthless, and just know that there are people out there that care for you and that there is definitely better on the other side.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to define who you are.
Absolutely.
So with that, thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. And if you know anyone with extraordinary stories, let us know in the comments. We'd love to talk to them and share more stories. So for Paul, I'm Ben. It's Nobodees Podcast. I feel like we should cheers. I feel like we should.
Let's do that.
There, cheers.
Cheers.
So good. So good. I don't deserve that. Thank you.